My guest on this episode of the Neil Wilkins podcast is Vince Quinn. Now, Vince is the co-founder and creative director of SBX Productions, where he helps businesses start podcasts and use them to power their marketing, as well as actually, and this is going to be something we're going to go deep into in this conversation, helping podcasters to unlock their hosting potential. Now, of course, I'm a podcast host amongst a whole variety of other things, so I'm going to be learning as we go deep into this conversation. Vince, welcome to the show.
Neil, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Now, this is a topic I think that a lot of people, particularly marketers, business owners, entrepreneurs, somebody who's got a side hustle looking to kind of start out with their business, maybe, from a ground up kind of situation. There is a huge opportunity, isn't there, with podcasting, literally for everybody, no matter what sector you're serving, whether you've got a product or a service, something for everyone.
Yeah, that is the beauty of it, right? There's communities for everything and all, because when you think about what it is for you locally, regionally, nationally, the kind of industry that you're in, the specific niche of that industry, there's so many different things that you can cover. And as much as there's a lot of podcasts out there, to say that, oh no, there's all these established industry giants in every single nook and corner of the podcasting world, it's just not true. So the opportunity is everywhere. The equipment is easy to access and very affordable. And so that's why everybody is drawn to it. They should be drawn to it. And so that's what I love about it is there's so much accessibility, and then to be able to help people strategically find what their fit is and those areas to attack for their benefit. That's the beauty of it, the mastery of it, and what I do every day.
I want to come on to all of those things that you mentioned there in terms of, getting a topic, maybe a theme, how to brand it, and what does being a host mean and all those things. But you mentioned, again, one of your points there was about the equipment side of things. I often, when I'm talking to people, often hear that that's a bit of a barrier in terms of a mindset, because people think, you've got to either be hiring a really expensive studio or you've got to spend, thousands of dollars on, the most up-to-date equipment. It doesn't have to be that, though, does it? You can literally start with your iPhone even.
Yeah, I was about to say that 100% you can start with your phone. There's no reason you can't, right? Especially if you're just doing an audio show to start, but you can even do a video show on your phone, and that's totally okay too. So yeah, equipment, you think about it a lot of different ways. Before, if you go back a couple of years, there was something to be said for the excessive quality of production and how that made you stand out compared to other people. But nowadays, I mean, we're in a world where TikTok dominates the culture, right? So everything is so informal. It's all these things that are on your phone. You're talking to a camera in that way. Jump cuts, which were like, oh my God, we can't possibly have a jump cut in our stuff. And now that's a routine part of things. So production's been completely overstated, and people are more accustomed to lesser produced things. Obviously, you want to have some standard to it. You need it to be listenable, but to say that it needs to be professional with a microphone that costs a couple $100s and a super expensive camera, it really does not need to be that, especially when you're just getting started. Just go do it. See if people are interested in this thing. Get comfortable with the rhythm of it, and do you enjoy doing the work? That. I think that is the problem. People say, well, I don't want to invest, or I did invest $4,000 in a new laptop and all this equipment. It's like, you haven't even done a show yet. Why are you buying all this stuff? You know what I mean? It's like buying a basketball gym if you've never dribbled a basketball. Why would you do that? So yeah, keep it simple and use things like your phone or any free software and just get going.
That getting started that's the key hurdle, isn't it? I know a lot of people, share this belief and this viewpoint, is that even if your first episode is absolutely tragic, I mean, to be fair, unless somebody backtracks the thousands of episodes that you eventually end up doing and listen to the first one, nobody's going to cover it anyway, because you probably don't have any listeners or anything like that. So the risk actual profile is very, very low, isn't it? It's not going to damage your brand or spoil your business. People just like to hear that you're giving it a go. It can be quite endearing, can't it?
Yeah, I like to find a certain balance between having it developed and developing on the fly. So the whole idea being that when I encourage people, anybody that wants to start a podcast for anything, whether it's a creative idea, it's for your business, whatever you want it to be, what I encourage is like a television show, do a pilot, which is here's one episode. We're not telling anybody about this. We're not necessarily airing this thing. It's, hey, let's do it. Let's review it. Is it what we like? Is the formatting good? How do you sound? And if it's good, great. Now you can either publish that and move forward, or you can do it again, re-record it, add the production elements, and really refine it. But the idea is that you get a little bit of a practice. You do a couple of reps on it, but at the same time, you know that it doesn't need to be a perfect finished product. There is going to be evolution over time. And I think a lot of times working with businesses, particularly, the business evolves. There's so many people who have a business, and what it is 1 year and what it is 3 years later or 5 years later is radically different. So you're not going to know what your business is and what your show is 5 years from now. Just do it for what you have today, and know that, okay, you're going to see trial and error. You're going to have success and failure, and you just evolve from that. But yeah, get started, but get started with a plan is really the idea of it. That's why I like the pilot. It's like, I have a concept, I have a vision, I have a certain audience. This is it for now, and let's get going.
So back to your earlier point, Vince, about this whole thing about production values, which was a phrase that you used. Is it kind of a good idea to either go for the super raw, very, very natural, very informal? I mean, much as we're doing here, no, this is not scripted. There's no big kind of music intro. It is very, very just two guys having a conversation about an important topic. Or do you feel it's important that there is the carefully crafted intro with titles, maybe a little ad, and then the outro at the end, which gives the call to action? Do you have a preference there? Because I always find that middle ground of neither one nor the other doesn't tend to work. I think you've got to be either at the extremes.
Yeah, so I like to play it differently based on, the person that's running the show, what is their personality, what is their brand, and what kind of people are they speaking to. For example, I have one guy that I'm working with right now. So I'm developing, we just did the pilot last week. So I'm working with this guy, and part of his business, he runs events. So he does that in Philly, where I am, but then he also travels to other cities in the States. So he's going to Atlanta or Tampa or all these different places. And what we're doing with him is we're actually working on a show where some of these episodes might be 5 minutes long, and there's no production value whatsoever. And it's just him and a basic camera, and he's just spitting an idea, and there's background noise around him because he's sitting at a table in a co-working space. And it's alive in that way. It is very raw. It's very natural. And it's breaking a lot of norms in the way that we're doing it, because most podcasts are in a studio. It's this curated environment. I wanted him to be out in the wild. That's what he is. That's what he's about. Where's Robbie now is the idea. Like, oh, well, I'm in Atlanta now. Oh, I'm in Tampa now. And here's this thing that's on my mind. So it's going to be a totally different cadence, way more casual and alive in that sense, because you don't know where he's going to be. It's going to be pretty quick. You don't know what he's up to. So I love that for him, but that's who he is, and that's what his business is about, and the kind of relationship he has with an audience that he's already built. So they expect that from him. He does well in that way, and now we're just accelerating that. But for the other people, some people are like, there's something to be said for the art form of production. And some people love that. So if you're into that and you like the well-produced intro and you like the music when it blends in so perfectly, and having that tied into a YouTube channel where you have a 25-second outro for recommendations, which is a standard thing on there, like, the people love that. And if that's what they want and that reflects what their business is, where it's a little flashier and brighter and more grabby, I guess you could say, like, then go for it. So I tend to be flexible, and it's really just about what do you like, what fits you, what feels natural, and what's your budget? Because obviously the flashier it is, like, the more work it is, the more expensive it can get. So you have to make a lot of guided decisions based on those things.
So I'm already feeling like this is so practical. And I think the point is that podcasting is practical, isn't it? It's not something, I take your point totally, that you need to plan it. You need to understand, you've got almost like a directional thing for the sat nav to kind of get you in the right direction to start. And it is going to move. You are going to take some detours or, whatever, but actually having some kind of initial plan. So that would be, for me, the first thing is to kind of, really identify with who are you? who do you want to be as a podcaster, podcast host, or however you're going to sort of be positioning this. I suppose then the next question that comes that, jumped straight into my mind as you were describing that particular guy in the events industry was very much, does it have to be video? Because obviously with Apple Podcasts, it's audio. With Spotify, it's both. YouTube clearly is video centric. I mean, is it a channel decision, or is this very much down again to the host and the brand and the business making that decision whether I want to go all audio, or maybe I want to be a little bit more bold and try video too?
Yeah. So what I tend to recommend for people is do an audio show if you want. Like there is more work in video. It's more expensive for video. Having a YouTube channel is another thing to maintain, all of that. But get video clips on your show if you can. And the reason that I say that is you're building all of these different audiences, right? People tend to look at it as, well, I've got this show and I'm promoting the show on Instagram and I'm promoting on TikTok and Facebook or wherever. So it's all one audience. The truth is it's not. Your Instagram audience is your Instagram audience. Your TikTok audience is your TikTok audience. Your newsletter audience is your newsletter audience. And occasionally your podcast is your podcast. Like they might cross over a little bit here and there, but everybody's in their own silo. So you're accessing them wherever you can. And being able to appreciate that, most of these platforms are video. And if you have audio clips and it's a graphic thing, hey, here's this image, and maybe it's the sound waves that are going across the bottom, and you've got that and some text. People don't stick around for that. So if you're trying to get that message out, especially as a business owner, like this is your marketing, this is your relationship building. And so to make sure that you're grabbing people's attention and making it clear what you do, what you're talking about, and you're the authority here, then you want the video because that's what people consume on the platform. So as much as you can do audio show, video clips, and just keep that as simple as you need to, because, hey, there's work involved. I would highly, did I say highly recommend that. It's going to make your life a lot easier. And it just gives you a bigger opportunity for a bigger audience.
I like that way of kind of almost sort of using it as maybe a slightly different channel. I mean, that was really nuanced when you said there about your TikTok audiences, TikTok, Instagram is Instagram, etc., etc. And then you said about when your podcast audience often can be your podcast audience. This is an opportunity if you almost position it like that, rather than being something that's a medium through which you tell a message, you think of it as a marketing channel. I mean, we've got a lot of people listening to this who are either business owners or marketers predominantly, and they want to develop their business. So this is an opportunity to think of this as almost like a new channel. If you've never hosted before, you've never done that first broadcast, this is a way of growing the bandwidth, I guess, and the reach of your business way beyond social, because this is potentially a lot more engaging than social media, which has turned out to be very much an ad sort of channel, hasn't it, for I think a lot of brands. So did you see engagement coming through, kind of actual direct engagement with the kind of people you're working with?
Yeah, and the great thing about it too is you have an opportunity to directly grab your audience, and invite new segments of your audience. Because the beautiful thing about podcasting, and the way that I tend to do this when I'm working on a show with somebody, is, let's say, for example, I have a show for my business about podcast production for businesses. So that's what our show is. But there's the kind of people that I'm building relationships with now that are on the fringe of what I do. So, for example, I don't do advertising. Like I am not a guy that's going to say, hey, you want to advertise your show on Facebook and you want to do Meta Ad Suite and get the show out there that way? Great. I need to find somebody to do that. I don't want to do that work. I'm not a specialist there. I'm not interested in becoming a specialist there, but I know that's relevant for my audience. So I want to find people like that, build relationships with them, and the show is a vehicle for me to do it. I can either invite them onto the show, somebody like that, and just pick their brain and do that live and have that conversation. And on the other side of it, I can go on other shows and meet those people by going on with them. So now I'm connecting with people that are in my industry, understand what I'm about. They're a compliment to me. They might be a referral partner. And with that, they have an audience that I'm relevant to that audience, and they're relevant to my audience. So it's a beautiful way to go and tie these things together and to sort of take ownership of audience building. because that's really the issue. Is a lot of times when people look at a guest, they're thinking, well, this guest is going to come on my show and they're going to bring their audience and I will retain that audience. But a lot of times when you have a guest on, they don't bring their audience, and so that audience doesn't stay because they never came in the first place. Like it's really exciting to say, hey, these are the kinds of people I want to connect with. I'm going to use the show to very actively, aggressively go and do that and make sure that I'm answering their questions and I'm building those relationships. And eventually those things are turning into client calls and sales, because I've built it. I've listened to them. I'm giving them more of what they want. They see me regularly and they trust me and they know that I have a full interest in their success with that problem. And not only do they come around and become a client, but they mention me to their friends and have their friends listen to my show and all those kinds of things. But it's very thoughtful and slow, which is the unfortunate thing, right? Like to be so intentional takes time, but you see those results over time. And when your numbers are constantly growing, your follower counts slowly tick up, your view counts slowly tick up, like you see all of the things you want because you've decided to take ownership and going and making it happen.
It's exciting, isn't it? It really is. And I think if you kind of take that view, and I'm totally with you on this one, Vince, because I think you're absolutely summing up what I'm seeing, as well, on my side of the Atlantic and with the businesses that I'm serving it's very, very similar, if not identical. I guess the next sort of question that sort of leads on from that is kind of, if somebody's listening to this thinking, okay, Vince, you convinced me, I know I need to do this. I know I want to be doing this. I kind of feel a little bit of a pull towards it. I'd like to experiment. But I have no idea, if I'm hosting a podcast, what my topic would be or my theme. And you tell me to plan, but I don't really know where to begin. What is a good way of beginning? Is it about your product or your service, or is it something that is kind of in parallel to that, more of a thought leadership piece on a topic that would complement your products or services?
Yeah, so it's going to depend a little bit depending on the exact kind of business you are and the things that you're passionate and comfortable about speaking to. So for me, like I said, I've got a show for my business talking about podcast production for businesses. I'm a total nerd with all that stuff. So and I'm a radio host. Like I spent 10 years in radio before I even podcasted. So I can talk all day. And it was easy for me to say, okay, what are some of the things that I think are the biggest issues or the most important things that my audience needs to hear? And I started there. And from there it was, okay, now I've got eventually 30 episodes that I've recorded of the show. Now let me go back, right? So don't obsess up front too much about how do I get started. Do things that you think are interesting, that are relevant, and just go make it happen. Right? Like do your best guess and go and figure it out. The longer you've been in business, the more you know your audience and the more you've discussed things over and over again, then it becomes easier because, hey, here's 10 common questions I get all the time. And I hear them so much that I'm so sick of talking about them every single call. And it's driving me crazy. Like just record those things. And now whenever people ask you a question about that, you can say, hey, I've got a 10-minute episode that I did 4 years ago. And you should go listen. Like it proves your expertise. So yeah, most common asked questions that you get, that's an easy way to get started. Things that you think are most important, that's a great way to get started. And then anything else over time, go back and look at what you posted. So look at those episodes, look at clips from those episodes. If you have carousels, newsletters, like anything relevant from that content, and see what did well. And then what does that tell you? For example, I have times where topics about time management and just production process, like simplifying production, people are very much interested in those things, which means I better make more content about that, right? Like it's in my space. I know about it. And I know that people have been drawn to that. So that's where I put my energy. But that's the idea. You keep it simple and you refine as you go.
Yeah, I love this idea about, little bite-sized, 5-10 minute podcasts. I think so many people have been swept along with, the Joe Rogans of this world with 3-hour epics, which you think is like sitting down and watching a Dune movie. It's going to blow you away, but it's just so big and it's going to take you half a day to consume it. That's not what we're actually talking about here at all, is it? It's the other end of the spectrum where it's consumable. It's bite-sized chunks of value. Now, that I think becomes less of a barrier then, doesn't it, to people who are thinking this is going to take too much of my day? It doesn't have to.
Yeah, and it's great that you mentioned Joe Rogan, because I think he is the absolute worst blueprint for anybody that's doing a podcast, especially for their business. Because the whole thing is, he's an entertainment show, and he did it at the very beginning. I mean, the West didn't even exist. Like, there's that whole phrase of like the West was settled, but it just wasn't even a thing yet. No, he was doing it in like 2009. So it's a totally different game. You don't look at a guy like that. You have to think, okay, I'm talking about a very specific thing for a very specific customer who has very specific problems. So all you need to do is properly address the problem. And as long as you're doing that and you're consistent enough with your time, like, you can have some flexibility in an episode, but typically, yeah, for me, it's like 15 to 30 minutes, anywhere in that range, 20, 30 minutes. You want to keep it reasonably tight and consistent, because one, you just don't need to be that long. You just don't. You should be able to break the information down simple enough in that time. And two, people need to have some understanding of when they can put me on and work me into their day. And if I'm going anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour, then I've got issues, right? Because now people have no idea when to put me on. And if they think it's time, they're like, oh, I'm going to put on the most recent episode of Vince's show, and it is an hour, but they only had 20 minutes. I've lost an opportunity, So yeah, trying to be consistent in that way of the length, but also, yeah, you don't have to be beholden to time at all. I mean, I've done shows that literally they were 3-minute episodes, and that's all it was, and that's okay. So it's just picking a lane and sticking with it, just knowing that people will adjust to the style over time. Yeah.
That's a great little soundbite. I know that when we're pushing this one out, that's going to be a little moment, I think, that people are going to say, oh, okay, Vince has just given me permission here on a whole variety of different levels to do it kind of my way, the way I was hoping it might turn out. And I'm not having to then spend a whole day just to create one episode and get it out there. I can do this literally minute by minute, if that is what is required here, and the audience want it that way, and then I can dovetail in with their day. Now, Vince has actually made something that is actually achievable, which is great. So I've done my first, say, 4 or 5 episodes, and yeah, they've been, say, 5 to 10 minutes long, and I've been following all Vince's rules, and I kind of feel like I'm kind of getting there. But actually, when I listen to myself back, I don't like what I hear, or I don't like what I see. Are there what would you say top 3 tips would be for that, almost that self-improvement of the host persona, if you like? Is there a rule of thumb that we can follow?
So there's a couple of things for sure. And number one is, don't beat yourself up. If you're trying to be a better host, this takes time. And people, when they get into it, they think, oh, well, it's just talking. And it's not just talking, which is why I literally called my show It's Not Just Talking, because it's an art form. So you have to understand that it's going to take a lot of work to be truly great at it. And as long as you're approaching it with the mindset of, I'm going to get better and I'm going to work at this, you're doing the right things. And you'll see benefit as a host, and you'll also see benefits in the office when you're running meetings, on sales calls, like all the other things in your day-to-day, you will see improvement. But don't beat yourself up, have the right mindset. Number 2 is be specific. And especially when it comes to topics, the more specific that you can be about what you want to cover, what you want to discuss, the more it's going to resonate with people. Because a lot of times when you have a conversation, it can start pretty broad and pretty general. So, hey, let's talk about marketing. Great. Well, marketing's a massive world that can have all sorts of different specialties in it and situations. Let's talk about marketing through newsletters for enterprise level businesses in the holiday season. Like, that's specific. You know what I mean? And you can still talk about that for 25 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. Like, you can do that with high velocity, high quality information, but you started from somewhere that might take people 45 minutes just to get to the idea of discussing that. But you've prepared for it and decided to be this specific, which means you have a 45-minute head start on other shows that are out there. And so they might talk about it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You're talking about it for 45 minutes to an hour and all the progression you get from that. So yeah, like, be as specific as possible with these things. It's going to take some time to get used to that, to really drill it down. But the more time you put into it, the better you get. and your audience will feel it. And the content, as you watch the clips back and listen back, you'll feel it. Like you'll have all these deep opinions that you didn't even realize you had, and they drive so much of your day-to-day work. And so it's a cool way of self-discovery even. So yeah, be specific, put in the time to be specific. And three, with that, just be prepared. Like, know the main things that you want to talk about. What are the bullet points throughout the conversation? What are the main arguments that you have? What topics are most important to you and why? Are there some things that, and to some degree, over prepared? There might be certain things that you want to get to, but only if you have time. So, hey, I've got 4 topics that I want to get to in this episode. I think I'll get to 3 of them, but if it turns out it's a little bit faster, I have this little extra thing and I'll throw that in for 2 minutes and add it in. Like, great. But the more you do that and prepare, you know exactly the way that you feel going in because you have this very specific topic. Then you've got all of these clear points that you want to make along the way. You're constructing the argument and the whole structure of the episode. Hey, we're going to start here. Then we're going to go over to this thing. And then I've got this story of a client experience that I had. And then I'm going to bring them over here. And that natural flow, again, the specificity, like you're going to feel so good because you know exactly what you're saying, why you're saying it, and who you're saying it to. And it's going to make you resonate more with your audience. And you'll feel better when you listen back because you'll be like, wow, I was so confident. I wasn't doing as many likes and ums and ahs and you knows because you know exactly what you're going to say. So, yeah. So, again, don't beat yourself up. Be as specific with your topics as you can be and just be prepared going into your episodes with the overall planning. So that's it.
Yeah, that's great advice, Vince. Thank you. And I think one of the things then that kind of starts to, I guess, rise as a question is there almost like an ultimate level where you can almost think, okay, I get it. It's a journey and I get, we're always going to be learning and there's always this self-discovery either as a host and or as a guest, because you might eventually get invited to appear on other people's podcasts. I'm sure it will happen. And if you're kind of going through that sort of journey, is the ultimate to do it live? Is that the thing where you are literally bearing your soul in a live environment rather than almost that safety net of doing it recorded? Because you can always clip out that little moment where you did the ums and the ers and it wasn't quite as good an answer as you like. But putting it live, I mean, that is absolutely opening yourself up, isn't it? Is that the ultimate, or does that not really matter?
Live is a high wire. I mean, that is an experience. And I say that because like I mentioned earlier, I spent 10 years in radio. So I was live. I was doing sports radio in Philadelphia. And for Philly, I mean, it's a diehard sports town. People are very passionate there. I did national radio as well. So it was 225 stations and a huge audience. And so when everything that you say is analyzed in real time by all sorts of perspectives, and people have your Twitter account or whatever, and they can find you and say whatever they want to you, whether it's on social media or on the phone, like that is very real. And the pressure of that is part of what made me a great host, because I knew I had to be very clear about what I was saying. I needed to be prepared in terms of the stats that I was bringing to the table and the different storylines that I was discussing. And when I was valuing certain players or coaches or teams or whatever it was, I had to know my stuff because the audience knew it. And I needed to be better than them in a lot of ways, like more prepared, have more in my back pocket. And at the same time, know that, yeah, like there isn't an edit. I can't go back. I can't fix it. So being live is a thrill. And I think the way that you should look at it, especially if you're doing it for your business, is you want to be great live in terms of if somebody invites you on stage, if somebody invites you on another podcast and you're getting that opportunity, if it is the sales meeting, like those kinds of things, the presentation, that's where this language, everything that you're doing to prepare and speak clearly and deliver these strong opinions, like that's where it will show up for you. And so that's the live element. I think otherwise, if there is a reason to go live, and there is for plenty of people where, hey, you might want to go live on LinkedIn, for example. They've been really big on that. YouTube has a live feature. You might want to go live there. Then, hey, go for it. If your audience is available and you can engage with them and you've got the systems in place to do that, go do that. Sure. Like Twitch was a whole industry that was built on being able to digitally interact with people live in real time, get all those comments and go back and forth. So if that's a fit for you, do it. But there is the ability to do it without it, right? Like all these big successful podcasts that have large audiences that have been able to convert people into clients or whatever it might be for the goal. So live is valuable, but it's not essential. And it really depends on what you're looking to get out of it. So if you're looking to do events and all that, go for it. Otherwise, you can be totally comfortable and just edit as much as you need.
And in those edits, then, I guess everybody's going to be wondering if I'm going to ask you the question with those two famous little letters, A and I, in either in the edit, in the clipping, in the production, post-production, or even, dare I say it, because a lot of people are now starting to use Notebook LM from Google to actually co-create or to replace them as a host and actually say, no, I can get AI to actually host my podcast for me. What's your view on AI, just generally or more specifically? Are there kind of upsides, but there are certainly challenges for the podcasting community, aren't there?
Oh, incredible upsides and downsides, and it's all depending on where you sit within the equation. So for me, it's been a benefit ultimately. Like I came from with doing all of the radio work. I was an editor. I did a lot of production things with all of these different voice work and sound effects and music and blending that all together on 8 different tracks. And it was like such an intensive particular process. And there is still room for some of that in podcasting for sure. But there's a lot of things when it comes to editing that the value's gone. It's out the window because AI does it and does it reasonably well. So when it comes to figuring out the basic intro, outro, adding on your intro and outro, like it'll clip that and add it for you in some cases now. It will edit where for video, there's AI tools that can, if it's 2 speakers and it's going back and forth with the camera, right? It will be able to read which speaker is speaking and it will naturally cut the video back and forth from speaker to speaker. And that used to take a very long time to do. And even if it wasn't necessarily artistic, even on the most basic level, like it took a long time. And now that can happen in 2 minutes if you have the AI set up properly. So a lot of things with editing have completely gone by the wayside for the most part on sort of an entry level. And all that's left is sort of mastery and taste. And that's what AI has created is there's no basic jobs anymore of true value in editing. And that's why what I see out there, people when they're looking for editors, sometimes they want experts. They will say, I want an expert for $10 an hour. And when you go to different freelancer platforms and things, you can find those people. Like there are editors all across the world that you can easily access. It doesn't cost much to do. So that's completely eradicated an industry of established professionals who have 20, 30 years experience as editors. Like for them, it's devastating. And for me, I was lucky enough where I'd naturally been working my way to being a strategist. So it's number one, why are we doing the show? What do we want to get out of it? What are the themes? What are the topics? How do you execute those at a high level? AI can't take that from me. And in the same way, it's ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT all the time. And it can provide things that get you in the ballpark of what is a good topic or how do you structure an argument. But the true mastery and the artistry is being able to edit those things, rearrange those things, add the nuance to it, add anecdotes to it, like all the things that are that human element, your personal experience, and just understanding of your audience that AI can't match. Like that's where it all works. Because to ignore AI would just be ludicrous. You just can't do it. Everything's going that way. It's so affordable. The quality of the work is good, and people are more acclimated to it. So they're not like, oh, this was written with AI. I fundamentally hate it and refuse to enjoy it. So finding that balance of how does it help you? How are you improving on it and not taking it at its face? And from there, how is your audience responding to it and how can you give them more? Is really how you have to tie all of that together. But AI is an essential part of things these days, and you just have to make the most of it.
Wonderful. Vince, I want to direct people to the podcast of podcasters and podcasting. It's not just talking. Tell us a little bit more and direct the audience there, because I know there's going to be people who want to follow up this with you.
Yeah, so it is me continuing to be a nerd about podcasting, as I've clearly demonstrated over this entire conversation. And it's all about relentlessly helping businesses with their podcasts. So that's all we talk about. And we do that every single week. And it's on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you get your podcast. That's where you can find the show. It's not just talking.
Wonderful. Vince, Quinn, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a really, really good conversation, and I just want to get on and do my next episode, and I'm sure everybody else is feeling the same.
There we go. I'm glad you're fired up, Neil. That's what it's all about, man. Got to be pumped for this kind of life. You know, it's a passion. So glad I could give you a little bit of inspiration, and hope the people listening, you felt it too.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vince.